Hello there. I had a question today, which I thought was really interesting, and I hadn't really considered before. Um, when I had a client and a customer today send me an email, and she has taken a short-term job with her previous employer. So she's going to work for a couple of months, and they want to put her on the payroll because of the way their system works or like their policies or whatever. So she's going to be an employee for 2 months, and she needed help filling out the forms, like the tax forms. So those are TD1, and depending on the province you're in, could be TD Ontario ON1 or TDAB1, depends on the province. But what she wanted to know was, because she's self-employed, is this like, how does this work in terms of QuickBooks? Does she create an invoice and then not send it because she's going to get a paycheck? Does she have to charge GST? Does she not qualify to fill out these forms because she's self-employed? Like, how does all that work together? And I thought that was a really interesting question because I hadn't really come up with that before. That was a weird way to say it, but I think you understand. It's not a question that I've answered before. So I thought it was really interesting, and so I'm sharing it with you now. When you're self-employed and you take a job as an employee, it's the same. It's exactly the same as if you weren't self-employed. The only thing that I would keep in mind is that because you're self-employed, you're going to be making money that doesn't have deductions taken at the source. So this is mainly for sole proprietors. If you're incorporated and you're paying yourself a salary, then actually, you know what? It's the same. I would give the same advice to somebody if they're paying a salary or dividends or they're a sole proprietor. When you're filling out those forms, you absolutely qualify to fill them out. Like you're employed just like if you weren't self-employed. Like that relationship is still the same with your employer. But what I would do is I would claim 0 credits at the bottom of those forms. So what that means is that you're saying you've already used up your credits with other income because you've used it up with your self-employment income. And it's kind of a weird way to think about it because until you do your taxes, you haven't actually used those credits, right? Like until you file your taxes, you can't use those credits. But what I would do is put a 0 at the bottom of those forms. So don't claim your basic personal amount. If you have dependents or if you have like tuition or whatever, don't claim any of those. Put a 0 at the bottom. And what that does is they will take more income tax off of each paycheck than they would otherwise. And that helps you to not have a big tax bill at the end of the year because your self-employed income does not have deductions coming off it. That's true if you're a sole proprietor, and it's true if you're paying yourself dividends. If you're paying yourself a salary, then you will have source deductions, but you will have already claimed those credits on the employment income from your corporation. So if you have other income of any kind, put a 0 at the bottom there, and that makes sure that they deduct enough in taxes for you so you don't have a nasty surprise come April 30th. So yeah, I was super interested to hear that question. If you have questions about that, let me know because I'm happy to chat with you about it and just explain it in more details if you need that. If you're looking for accounting and tax tips sent out every week, I can do that too. I am doing that too. Sign up for the newsletter. I left a description in the link. I always do that. I left a link in the description. You guys will find it. I know you will. I hope you're doing well. I'll see you tomorrow.